Yo, what's up? It's your boy Will Motivation, and today we're talking about my advice on the number one way for you to get started investing in real estate.
All right, so we got Harry. We're about to get into some questions. I'm sharing some of my numbers with him on my properties. Eventually, I'll get to share some of this information on video, but thought we would take the opportunity to just share whatever I'm going to share with Harry with YouTube. So. You're getting ready to ask me a good question, so I figured we would go ahead and start.
Yeah, so one of the things I was, obviously you have a lot of properties and the number increases based on how many properties you have, but question for me was, as I want to get into the real estate business, and I'm not starting fresh, I have I have one already, so I'm looking to expand it, which is why I'm here talking to you. Mm-hmm. But the amount of cash to keep aside, because I know there's always reason to have money aside for your property, right? There's emergency funds you need for things that break, equipment that goes bad, the fridge stops working, you got to replace it. Next tenant moves out, you need to replace the carpet. The garage door stops working, $2,000 fix. These are all things that you don't account for, so you need to have that cash buffer. And also, if a tenant leaves without telling, like last minute, he's like, I gotta go.
You gotta carry the.
You gotta carry the mortgage. So you gotta have a set amount of money per property. As a base to say this is what's gonna keep me from that. What is that? What is that number?
So to be honest, I haven't done it per property, but if I had to calculate it on a per property basis, I would say, and I think it actually will change based on the number of properties you have.
Probably. But that's when you get to know your business really well. You get to know all your properties. You know your troublesome properties and you know your smooth properties. So you can kind of, but when you're starting out.
So let's say you have one or two properties.
Yes.
So what I was getting ready to say, so I have about 21, 22 properties. So if I have 1 month's rent for each property, then I can usually, anything that comes up, I can usually handle.
Okay.
I'm confident I can handle. However, if you have one property or two properties, to be honest, I would say you might want to have a little bit more, just for peace of mind. So maybe you might want to have 2 months rent in the bank at all times, in case. So for example, let's say, and maybe that's not even a good way of looking at it based on the monthly rent, because the way I've looked at it is what are the things that go wrong and what are those things that are expensive. So, and every house has different stuff. So some houses, like I have one house that doesn't have a garage, so I don't have to worry about them messing up the mechanicals in a garage door opener or the garage door going out or something, because I've had to do that plenty of times as well. But what I have had annually, somebody's AC will go out every year and somebody's heater will go out, and I'll have to do repairs. Luckily, I haven't had to replace after somebody's been in there. I've had to replace plenty of those kind of things doing a rehab. But usually when somebody's in there, it's a repair cost, and it can get into the hundreds, rarely into the thousands though. So if I had a couple of properties, I would say your HVAC is the stuff that you want to care about. So how much is your typical HVAC expense where you are? So you might want to have, like, if something goes wrong with the furnace, like, so where I am here, I want to have $600 in case something goes wrong with the heater. You know what I mean? I want to have $600 in case something goes wrong with the AC. What else goes wrong? Plumbing. If somebody stops up or a garbage disposal goes out, it's usually not that much, but you could say $200. You know, $100 to buy a new one and $100 to put it in. Typical things that go wrong as well. You usually don't have problems with electrical. You usually don't have problems like drywall and them messing stuff up. It's not critical, but plumbing gets critical, and heating and cooling gets critical. So I would have money set aside if I had like one or two properties. I would have money for repairs on heating and cooling and plumbing.
And you know that, and I've seen it myself with my property, that things always go wrong when you least want them to, right? The heating always goes out in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
The tenant calls you and says, fix this shit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And then good luck trying to find somebody to come and fix it, unless
Yeah.
you pay premium. So you got to have the money ready to pay that premium because you want somebody to come and fix heating in the middle of winter.
But you bring up a good point. So the way that I think one of my advantages as an overall investor is, and this will work out for you with your personality type and your experience, your life experiences, is networking.
Yes.
So I save thousands. Like me building this house probably would not be a financially wise thing for me to do if I didn't have good connections and networking and knowing people, staying in touch with people that know how to do the skilled trades and labor to repair houses or build houses. So the way you save money is you network with other property owners to say, oh yeah, I work with George, who's the HVAC guy. I went to high school with him. He charges good rates. He doesn't, he doesn't kill you, and he's a nice guy. And sometimes he'll come do stuff for free. You're like, George, I need George's number. You know what I mean? So you're networking with other property owners, and having somebody like I'll have my daughter call around and shop, and price everybody out to get let's say I'm doing a certain specific plumbing repair, because plumbers are super expensive, man. So
Yes.
you want to have somebody, you want to have a go-to plumber that doesn't rape you, essentially, and you want to have a go-to HVAC person. So I found my go-to HVAC person. Like, he fixed the last AC unit and didn't even send me a bill. Like, dude just did it for free because I do all my business with him.
And where they get you, I know this because I've been through this. Where they get you is that that AC unit, when it comes out, it's a $30 that cylinder. I don't know what it's called. It's a $30 part.
Yeah.
They charge you $500 for that thing. If you called, hey, my AC just went out, they'll come and say, oh, that's an expensive part.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
$500.
yeah.
It's $30.
Yeah.
It just takes an hour to. If you know
Right.
what you're doing, you can fix it yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing and you're desperate, you're gonna spend $500. So those are some of the things that I think.
Yeah, and if you're networking, right, and you're preparing before the emergency, then your chances of getting it done for a good price are better. Because if you, like I've gotten hit pretty hard historically with plumbing, because usually when somebody calls for a plumber, it's an emergency and they're
Yes.
getting cranky and angry. Even worse, to be honest, even worse than when heaters and stuff go out. But I've had both of those types of issues happen, and it's like an emergency. So you end up paying more if you don't have go-to people.
And you bring up a good point about plumbing, because it just reminded me. So every time I take a tour, my tenant, I take a tour of the house before I hand over the keys for a rental. The first thing I show them is the water shut-off valve.
Oh yeah.
That's the first thing I show them.
Yeah,
is like,
something starts leaking.
Something starts leaking.
Go
This is
shut
where
this
you
off.
need to go, and you need to shut everything
Yeah.
off. Then call me and do whatever. Don't just
Yeah.
let the thing
Yeah,
plug.
yeah. That's huge, and that's good advice for future landlords. And you actually shared something with me that I think I'm going to take advantage of, is how you got your first place rented out.
Yes.
You used an agency. If you could just talk a little bit about that, because
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do the same.
I think you asked me where I found it, and to be honest, I think it was word of mouth. I didn't know they existed, but it turns out they were a business. Cincinnati Rentals or Cincy Rentals. I don't know the actual thing because I know them by.
So they're an agency that will
They're an
help you
agency.
find tenants.
Tenants.
They'll screen the tenants.
They will. It's start to finish, right? It's white glove service. So they look at the property. They will come take photographs of the property and put it up on their website and all of that. They'll market it. They will create the contract between you and them to say, you agree to pay them a month's rent for once everything is final. They will find the right tenants. They will screen them. They will approve them. They will do all their credit, background, criminal. They'll do everything.
Yeah.
They will present the customer to me on paper. So they'll say, hey, this is the perfect tenant for you. They're willing to pay this much. They want to do they'll give me the terms. Now, if the guy says, look, I don't want to do I'll be willing to pay a little bit more, but I don't want to do a 12-month. I want to do a 9-month because that's all I'm going to be in town for, and then I'm going to get transferred. So I'd rather pay you a little bit more to cover for those 2, but I can't do a 12-month.
Yeah.
Agreed. It works for me.
Yeah.
So they'll present those conditions. They have a pet. They don't have a pet. All this. They'll present all the conditions. I say yes. Then they transact and get all the contract signed. And then they hand over, they ask me to go meet the tenant, or they hand over the keys. So
how long did it take them to find your first tenant?
I think they usually, obviously it's seasonal, season depending. Summer is obviously the best time to rent because all the families with kids moving into the school district, they want it that time. But generally, they find me someone within 30 days.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because when I do it myself, it usually takes me 3 weeks, sometimes 4, but I have to do all of that extra work, and it's not my favorite part of being a landlord.
So you know what it is, and this goes back to your thing about having networking to help you fix your properties. What I call it is opportunity cost, right? If you know the economic definition of opportunity cost, the most simplistic way of saying it is what you could have had if you hadn't had what you had. Now that sounds very confusing, but basically, if you're busy spending your time screening people, interviewing them, talking to them, working out what a legal contract, once you've done it over and over, you can do it, but doing all of that, what is the opportunity cost of you not doing that?
Right.
What are you not spending time doing?
Right.
Which could be getting you
more money.
More money.
Yes.
That's not worth your headache.
Right.
You're better off paying a month.
It's like landscaping and all that good stuff. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. You're not doing it because
my time is better spent.
Exactly. Time is money. That's where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
So your time is better spent, far more valuable than trying to do this. You just pay somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They'll do a far better job, and they'll have a tenant for you quicker. So one of the things they told me about the contract itself was, hey, we want to make sure that it's written into the tenant's contract that 60 days before they plan to leave, they need to notify you in writing. Anything less than that, and they're open to all kinds of deposit issues and things. So you can bet 60 days before or more, these guys reach out and say, hey, I'm planning to leave in 3 months.
Right.
So that was great, because what it also allows the rental company to do is get back inside
Start
them
marketing.
Yeah. And so the reason why it only takes them within 30 days is because they already have someone lined up for me by the time this guy's leaving. And then so they either have someone lined up or someone's getting pretty close. And once the guy leaves, I got to do my own bit to clean up the house, paint, and all that stuff. So it gives me a little time, but it's perfect. I like it.
Excellent. So, and a lot of people actually have been asking me, how do I find contractors that can give me good prices? So, I'll talk a little bit about that. But it's basically what we just talked about is networking. So, one of my first big contractors was a buddy of mine I went to high school with. He's a general contractor. He used to be a framer for the biggest builder in Ohio, I think. And so he learned the skills of the trade. He got licensed, bonded, insured, all that stuff. And he did my basement first. When he did my basement, I was like, he's pretty good. I need to continue to do business with him. Now I've got some opportunities to rehab some houses. Some of these houses that were messed up. And he did most of the houses on that list, as a matter of fact. But then through another friend, one of my best friends, he connected me with another friend of his that was a general contractor, and he has a specialty in doing things a certain way. And like my last rental property, he did that. He finished that one up for me, and he did a great job. So it was networking. My HVAC guy, one of the guys that works for me. They used to my HVAC guy's wife works with the guy that works for me.
Okay.
They knew each other. He was starting an HVAC company. He connected me with the HVAC guy. So he's my go-to guy. He doesn't overcharge me. He's good. He's on this side of town. Networking again. Plumber, that's the hard one because.
And honestly, if anybody wants to do any trade or skill, if they want to go to college, go to community college and learn plumbing.
Oh my God!
That is,
they get paid.
They get paid.
Yeah,
they
plumbers get paid. You're right, man. Plumbers, if you want to learn one of those trades, like, with construction and stuff, plumbers get paid because it's usually an emergency, and people are like, you gotta fix it, and they gotta pay. Electrical is similar, but electrical stuff doesn't happen
as
frequently, and people are do-it-yourselfers so much with the electrical stuff.
And because it's, I know that plumbers, well, what is it, like $120, $130 an hour or something
Or more,
like that? Or
yeah,
more, right?
yeah.
It's something like that.
They get paid. So that's a great trade. And I have some guys, like my general contractor guy, Steve, who's building the house for me. He can do all the plumbing stuff, but sometimes he's busy. You know what I mean? So I really need to get a good plumber on my team that I can call when Steve is busy, because Steve is real fair with me on pricing. But basically, the more people you know, the larger your network is, your prices start to come down, because then there's competition. People know that you know other people, so they try to give you their best price up front rather than because they know you're going to run to somebody else. And I do that all the time, like with my landscaping stuff. Those landscapers I deal with, they know I'll call somebody else quick if they don't give me a good price.
Yes.
Because their prices can be all over the map.
So here's something I need to know, because you just mentioned it, and it's quite interesting. So economies of scale, right? At what point do people start looking, like you've got a good number of properties, when you start buying things in wholesale and bulk, because 3 of your properties need wood flooring.
Mm-hmm.
So you start buying stuff in bulk, you're buying wholesale, you're saving money over the, do you ever do that? Or are you might consider it when you're a bit bigger?
I would probably consider something like that when I was bigger and I had more going on. But what I do have, like for example, my carpet guy, he gives me a better. I don't pay retail. I don't pay what everybody else pays for carpet, because he wants me to always come to him, and he knows I'm going to be changing several units probably every year, at least 3 or so. And when I was really in my heyday, I was doing more than that. So he wants me to come to him, and they even have competition within the same company. So like the same carpet company, they got a bunch of locations here. The guy at this store will compete with the guy at that store to give me the best price. And I've been looking at, I remember I did a deal with, the guys close to me, and the other guy called me like, what's going on, But hey, you guys gotta give me, whoever gives me the best price. Like, I'm not.
So you're already going economies of scale, but with your negotiations and how you're working. You're getting.
I negotiate everything.
So you've got more bulk and more, because you're already starting to do so much extra work with these guys that you're able to negotiate that.
Yeah, and a lot of them will know your reputation, and some of them don't even. You just gotta kind of look at everything as negotiable. So like when I go into the flooring store, like big box flooring store, like there's a place called Floor and Decor here. Mm-hmm. It will remind you of like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. I'll go in there and I'll negotiate with the people there. Now it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Or what'll happen is, let's say I'm looking at this wood and I want to see if I can get it for cheaper. I say, well, we can't really do much on that one, but we have this nice wood over here that we're getting ready to mark down and get rid of, so we can give you this one for way better price. And then you're like, oh, and it wasn't on the tag, they just knew that it was getting ready to get liquidated. So then by me asking them, how can I get this one cheaper? Then they say, well, look at this one. Then I'm like, oh wow, I just saved $2,000 because I'm gonna put wood flooring in the first floor of this house or something. Mm-hmm. So and then like the granite guy that I work with, he's from my same city, went to public school here.
Okay.
So we have this kind of thing where I went to this school, he went to that school. He's a cool guy, and he gave me a good deal on the first time I used him. I just always go to him, and every time I go to him, I'm like, dude, you gotta give me a good price. What can you work out for me? Or here's my budget. Don't give me any expensive stuff. Give me something good that's gonna work with my budget that you want to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And then I'm getting the deal, So building those relationships with people for the things that I'm constantly buying, I definitely do that. But I think I don't have enough going on at the exact same time yet to be able to negotiate like the bulk.
I think that comes with time. I think, it's a question that even, I was just curious whether you've reached that stage. I think there's a stage for everything, when you start, like even the other thing you mentioned, like property management. At some point of time, it goes to opportunity cost. When you've got better things to do with your time, which equals money, then you get somebody else to manage all the stuff. You don't want to be running from pillar to post doing your stuff, because that's taking you away from making more money. And yeah, so I guess it comes with every stage. And
but that's a great point, though.
Yeah.
Great point, because the takeaway is that even if you don't have a million properties going on, you can still negotiate good prices if you just tell them that you're an investor. Like, you could walk in the store on your first deal and just say, hey, I got a bunch of rental properties, I want to start buying from you guys. They're not going to question you, because they see Joe Schmoes come in there that really have 200 properties and walk in there looking, in their tennis shoes and t-shirts. And they see that kind of thing all the time, so they're not going to question you. Like, when I got the deal with the carpet, I really could have just been talking about my home.
Yes.
But I went in there and said, look, I got a bunch of properties. I want to get the investor rate. And they were like, okay, yeah. And they, sure enough, got the discount. They didn't check any credentials. They didn't they didn't go look at how many properties I have or any of that. Everything is negotiable. So yeah, that would be the takeaway there.
So, another question: how do you separate your personal from your? So, let me put it another way. So, yours is different. You do this full time probably, okay, and you maybe have other businesses. But for people like me, my main source of income is, I have a day job, right? It's salary job. I love it, and that's what I do. Everything I do else is on the side.
Okay.
Which means everything comes in as personal. It's not, I haven't incorporated a company. Everything I do is on personal. My social security number, my taxes, my this, my that, everything goes into one bucket. Can be good, can be bad. The good part is I don't have to hire a tax consultant. I don't have to go with, I just do, what's it called, TurboTax every year, and we're good to go. As that starts getting bigger and more complicated, there are write-offs, there are things that you do as a business. You probably want to start looking at reframing that into a business type deal, like incorporating a company, putting your properties underneath that. When do you think is the right time to do that? If you have 1 or 2 properties, probably not. Okay. There's probably a threshold somewhere.
So I think there's some people that would say, like, if it was a lawyer, they would probably say you need to get an LLC right away. I'm not a lawyer, but there's benefits of having a limited liability company set up. The good thing is it only costs about $120. It's like a real simple form you fill out. You send in a form,
okay,
and you pay $120, and you have a limited liability company set up. And then when you start going to get your next property, you tell the bank, hey, I've got a limited liability company. I want to put the property in the company's name. Then you get a tax ID, which is free. You just tell them, this is my limited liability company. Issue a federal tax ID, and you'll get a federal tax ID for your business. Then you use that when you go to the bank and get your loan.
Which you can't, because you don't have 2 years of business revenue. So you
can do it.
You can do it.
What'll happen is they'll just
put it on my personal.
You'll guarantee it.
Okay, I'll guarantee it. Okay.
And I do that. The banks just feel better, so I think I still have to sign. But the advantage is my business is getting the business credit. So eventually, going to that same bank or different banks, I have a history with my business with that business tax ID, and then I don't have to use my personal, because I got all this property or whatever under that. So if I would assume a lawyer would say, set up an LLC as soon as possible to protect your personal assets in case somebody sues you for some rental property stuff. But I don't know all of the ins and outs of that, so I just, by default, I got to my 4th property, and that's when I did it. And it doesn't cost you.
It's something I need to look into. I used to have a company, but I closed it down because it was a headache to, when you're not doing too much through it, maintaining the books, all of that nonsense. I didn't want to deal with it, so I shut it down. So, there are some things that come with that. You set up a company, you have to start keeping records, keeping books. You got to do,
Well, with the limited liability company, which is not like a S corp or a C corp or a corporation, It's almost no paperwork.
Okay.
So you would just say that you have a limited liability company. You would, in your taxes, there would be a place for it to put in your tax ID, and then you would say this income is associated with this tax ID.
Okay.
These write-offs are associated with this tax ID, and that's it. You wouldn't have to do a bunch of paperwork. Now, if you ever got audited and you had some write-offs, and they might say, okay, what were these write-offs, and show me the receipts, and let's talk about it, so make sure it's a good, valid write-off. So you would have to keep track of that stuff,
Yes.
of course, but paperwork beyond that. Now, me personally, once my LLC for my rental properties is actually still just a single member LLC, as me being the owner, and it's not a corporation, so it's pretty simple. But for my main business, which is my 9 to 5, my day job, it's set up as an S corp, and there's more paperwork with it, and, and my accountants do it, and it does cost a little bit of money every year. But for the properties, it's easier, much simpler.
There you go. So yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Something else I learned from networking and showing up in your house.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a lawyer would tell you to do that, but I'm not a lawyer, and I can't give legal advice, but I would say there's a reason that LLCs exist. So for $120, why not do that? Because you still have total control of the property. You still have total control of the business. It's not that complicated to do the paperwork to set it up. It's not that complicated to do your taxes. So maybe it's a good move as soon as you get your next property ready.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, that's a great question, and I just did it by default. But I got a buddy. I don't know if you saw the video where I had one of my buddies. We took a drive in the Lambo, and he's got 120 some properties.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes.
At least when I talked to him, when he had about 80 properties, they were all in his personal name.
Oh, wow.
No LLC. Now, I'm assuming nobody really tried to sue him for something happening, but I'm sure a lawyer would be like, dude, get your properties. And I even told him that maybe you might want to look into that so that nothing happens.
Well, there's and you have to check legalities, but I also saw that video, and I remember that he worked full time. He still works full time for his employer.
Yeah.
You get into conflict of interest situations. Generally, full-time employers of corporations that you work for, in your contract, they say that any time spent in any kind of business requires company's approval and things like that. So maybe I'm just saying it could be, but maybe he never incorporated a company, because the moment you do, you're liable, in the sense you're supposed to clear it with your employer. Hey, I'm doing this business. It's not a conflict of interest. It's nothing to do with what I do with you. And they'll say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the moment you incorporate a business, you're now liable that way.
Yeah. So I would definitely suggest everybody know the ins and outs of whatever business when they sign the dotted line to work there. Because I remember when I worked at AT&T, we had sort of a conflict of interest clause or whatever that we had to sign. And in his case, he's like, I'm just going to stay there until they fire me. They fire me, I'm good. So his strategy, I totally understand, because I tried to do the same thing when I started this business, not the real estate, but my software company. I wanted them to fire me. Like, I wanted to get a severance package, and they wouldn't do it. So I just said, I'm getting older. I got to go ahead and try to do this business, and I'm glad that I did. But yeah, so if you're working you got a good job and you want to keep it, definitely look at the conflict of interest and what the details of that are. But from my experience, man, especially when it comes to real estate, most companies, they understand, like, people, it's like an investment strategy, just like having a 401k or anything else.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Provided that we talked about this. Provided that it does not start interfering with your.
Right.
You're not direct competition. If you're working in an IT sector and you're busy doing real estate on the side, there's no conflict of interest from a business standpoint.
Right.
But if you start taking time out to do this,
they don't want you doing
and
that.
your main job suffers, that is a conflict of interest.
Yeah, that could be grounds for termination or something like that.
Yeah. So you definitely want to get that squared away, both from paperwork as well as a.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So, any other good questions you got for me before I shut the camera down?
No, I think I probably do, but I'll call you separately, and maybe we'll do another video. We'll do a round two. I'll take the learnings that I got from you today. I'll go. Maybe I'll get my next property. I'll call you down. Come.
Yeah.
When I get my next one, you come down, do a video walkthrough of how I did it, what I did.
Let's do it. We'll love
what
to.
I learned from you over lunch and
Sure.
everything today, and what I put into practice, and then
Would love to, man, and feel free to, if you're evaluating a deal, feel free to run it by me, and then I'll give you my candid feedback on it to say, this is what I would be careful of with this deal, and here's what my strategy might be if I was going to do that deal, so that you never take a L. So like on this list of properties that I have, there's only one property here where I might be in the negative. And this is the condo that I bought. I bought this. This is my first home. So I bought my first home in 99, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $160 for it. A few years later, 2007, I bought the condo for $140. 2010, I wanted to move into a house, and the condo dropped from $140 to $90. And so I was like, "There's no way I'm going to sell that."
Yes.
This one dropped to probably $120 or $130. But now that the market has come back, this one's worth almost $200. The condo might be worth $140 right now. But the good news is I didn't panic and I didn't sell it. Instead, I started buying the neighbors. And I started buying the condo. But I was making profit monthly off of this condo, even though on paper it was underwater. But in the house, now that it was underwater, but now that it's come back, man, I've got a lot of equity in this house. So now I bought a bunch of other condos as well. Some of them I sold actually for a profit. But you'll want to have a long-term strategy. So if you start getting into condos and stuff, you'll have to say in your mind, if the market dips, as long as I'm still getting these good tenants, the school system's good, I'm still going to make my money.
Correct.
And my long-term strategy is good.
And let's refer back to one of your videos which I saw where you realize that flipping, though it's good, it's gonna kill you on taxes. The capital gains is gonna be like crazy.
Yeah.
And if you do have a lot of capital gain, go buy yourself a Lambo.
Yeah. Buy a Lambo. or like what I'm gonna do with Project Huracan, the house that I'm building.
Yeah.
I toss around the idea of selling it when I get done with it because it's costing me all my cash. But I have to smack myself and say, why don't sell it? Just pull out equity on it if I need to. Set that in the bank for peace of mind.
Yes.
And let the tenants pay down that mortgage. And I still have the property appreciating. I still making a monthly profit. And I have my cash. So it's like a win-win scenario all the way around. So why am I talking about selling it when I'm going to lose 40% in taxes? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you got to be patient, and you got to kind of look at things and look outside the box. That's why I really recommend that book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, because they talk about how to leverage. They talk about all of these different ways to leverage real estate that blew my mind, and I've put into practice. So yeah, man, when you get ready to get that next one,
I will be soon.
Yeah.
I've started to look out on properties already. It's kind of a bit tight. There are no properties available right now, but
I got a tidbit for you.
yes.
Network with some good real estate agencies, a variety, a few of them. Network, tell them what you're looking for, tell them the zip code. The more specific, the better, because what will happen is some of the good realtors, they get deals before they hit the
come
market.
out, yeah.
So I got a property for I want to say $79,000. It was a house. The realtor got it before it got listed. He said, "Hey, it's $79,000." At that point in time, it was actually a little bit more than what I was used to paying. But I was like, okay, I know in the future it's gonna be worth more than that, right? So he got me the deal. I was the only person in contention for the property, so I didn't have bidding wars, none of that. It wasn't even on the market yet.
Yes.
He showed it to me because he had the networks with the banks and stuff. I bought the property, didn't have to fix up barely anything. Carpet, paint. That property is worth at least $170 right now.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, but I networked, to find him. So the way I found him is he's the realtor for my buddy that I did the video with.
Ah.
So when I got to talking to my buddy, he told me, this is my realtor, he's got deals, and I don't do all of them. And he's the one that found that when he presented it to me. I bought it, and now through that networking, I got crazy equity in my pocket, you know, and it's a good rental. Like I'm renting it out now for $1,400 a month.
Wow.
And it's, the mortgage on it might be, mortgage on it's probably $500. It's $512 a month. You know what I mean?
Nothing. Yeah.
So, but networking with realtors and investors who are using these realtors, investors will say, if they're cool people, they'll say, you know, this is my realtor. You know, as long as you're not my, you know, usually people have zip codes and areas that they like to work in, and you know, like my buddy, he likes to work in a different area. Like out here in my zip code, like I'm the shark. You know, I'm gonna go head to head. You know, when I'm buying, I'm gonna go head to head with anybody in my zip code, but I stay out of his territory. That's why he felt good about sharing his realtor with me. But at the same time, his realtor knows not to.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Well,
So,
that's good. You're sharing the. Yeah.
So the networking, man, and you have the personality and experience to really extract some value out of that. So you can leverage that, man, and then see if you might get a deal in the zip code you're looking at. Somebody's like, oh yeah, I got the perfect buyer. They go to you, and then you can make that deal happen.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and I'll hook you up with the banks to see if maybe they're in the area.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. If you've got some of the banks that I want to work with, that you already work with, that are local to me, that'd be great. Because
Okay.
you know, a reference from here,
Sure.
your guy tells that guy, hey, expect a call from me.
Yep.
It's again networking. It
Yep.
works out way better.
Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for watching today's video. There's a lot more to come. Hit that like button for me and subscribe to my channel. A lot of you guys have been asking me about when is my online course going to be ready. Well, I have good news for you. My online course is completed. I'll put a link in the description of this video where you can click on that link and get a 40% discount off the course. That'll be for the first 50 students. So if you're ready to take the online course that I've basically laid out everything that I know about how to invest in real estate, click the link below or just go to www.willmotivation.com/invest. And thank you guys for taking the time out to watch today's video. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.